We are live. Hi, this is Erica Poindexter with the Poindexter Real Estate Group, and we are on episode 3 of Are You Leaving California? And today I'm talking to Shannon Olsen of My Utah Agents, a broker and active real estate agent in Utah. She's got a team across the state, and we may talk to some other team members in the future because we've talked about today how diverse Utah is as far as just everything about Utah. Like you can just kind of pick different places and it's, you said that like the culture's different per county. Yep. And so I'm really excited to possibly talk to more of your agents and get an idea of different regions. That way folks that are leaving California have a better idea of what maybe they're walking into. But if we haven't interviewed a specific region, Shannon knows everything and has an agent everywhere. So if you're like, I don't know where I want to go, and you connect with Shannon, she can help you kind of narrow down some areas and has somebody to show you around regardless of what part of the state you're focused on. So welcome, Shannon, and thank you so much for taking the time to be here. So tell us a little bit about you and your team. I just,
all right.
I know, but they need to know.
So I have been licensed since 2004. Back then, the market was obviously pretty consistent. You didn't really have to learn a whole lot of hard lessons back then, right?
Yeah.
What's funny is I actually went full-time in 2007, literally months before the quote unquote crash occurred. And the thing that I love about that now I look back and I'm like, okay, that's hindsight, was the best thing for me, is I kind of didn't know any different. And so I just immediately had to get going, and I had to learn how to have tough conversations. I had to learn statistics and market trends and all of that stuff that quote unquote winging it and just, being excited about the process doesn't really get you through. And so now I look back, it's made me a much better agent myself, but then I can also obviously talk about those trends with my team and explain to them what things are telling us, right? There's no crystal ball. And that's what I get all the time is, what do you think the market's going to do? What are elections going to do, And so it's really hard, but I obviously do listen to the economists and the people that know even more than me, because they're looking at not just real estate, they're looking at all different industries and different factors, but they are saying that it is not going to end anytime soon. We're in the strongest seller's market we've ever seen in the state of Utah. And so
it's the same here. It's the same here. Even with as many people that I'm helping move out of state, we still have multiple offers on every single property available. So if you're looking to leave, it's a great time.
Because they're still buying. Where are most of your buyers coming from?
We have a lot of buyers coming from the Bay Area. So it's kind of the same thing. We've got tech companies there that are allowing their employees to work from home. So sometimes they come to our area and sometimes they come to you. So it's been a huge shift. And then like we talked about before, people with the rates as low as they are, people are like, oh, okay, maybe I can afford to buy now. And so we've got that whole buyer pool that still doesn't have inventory either. So
well, and they better hurry too, because it is proven, right, that after an election, interest rates do go up, and we've never seen interest rates this low. So it's still a great time to buy, even here in the state of Utah, even if pricing's the all-time highest it's ever been. Pretty much on every single home, we're seeing anywhere from 5 to, the other day we had a buyer that submitted an offer and they ended up with 15. And so needless to say, you really have to have an agent that's looking out for you, that's going to strategize more than just price, but the overall terms, and look at that contract and figure out different opportunities to make yours stand out against the competition. And so it's great for buyers, especially when they work with our team, because literally we train nonstop, week after week. We role play 4 days a week in the morning, talking about, say, for example, when COVID came out, right? We've never role played having a COVID conversation.
How do you role play a pandemic?
Yeah. And so we role play that to educate even ourselves and be able to have those conversations to then educate our clients, right? And so now it's, talking about the elections and interest rates and why do you buy now even when pricing's at all-time highs? How do you structure a winning offer? What are some things that you can do? So our team is absolutely amazing. And like you said, we have them across the entire state. And I do that because I always think about what would I as a consumer want? I wouldn't want somebody having to drive 2 hours away from their house to show me a home just to try to make a commission when really they know as much as I do about the local area. Right. And so that's honestly why we kind of started the team thing is we started growing our repeat and referral based business so big, and it started kind of growing across the state through word of mouth. And I was like, number one, I had somebody that was a great mentor to me. I see value in having somebody help you through the learning process and knowing what to do. And also at that, I love teaching other people what to do and how to do it. And again, it helps the consumers, you know what I mean? Having somebody that looks out for their best interest, that knows what they're doing. They have the systems, they have the training, and they're focused 100% on making that client have the best experience possible.
So what do you tell buyers that are coming from out of state? I mean, a huge problem we have is the contingency, right? So a lot of times, especially my clients that are coming from out of the area, I'm like, we've got to get your house sold first. Mm-hmm. A lot of times because the seller on the other side of the transaction that you want to buy doesn't know your market, doesn't know how busy it is, that kind of thing. So we need to make sure that the house is sold first. I had a client that lived in a travel trailer for 3 weeks because we couldn't.
Yep.
The gap.
Right?
And it's like, do what you got to do. But what kind of things are you guys doing there that are helping those that are moving from out of state kind of beat that?
Yeah. And in fact, just talking about that, we have over 40% of our buyer pool right now in the state is coming from out of state. And they're coming to Utah and they're looking at our pricing and they're like, I can buy what for what, right? It's all about perspective. And so they think they're getting a slam dunk deal, even though for a bunch of local people, they're like, oh my gosh, pricing so high. And again, thank God interest rates are as low as they are because they are keeping things affordable. And most people shop based on their monthly payment, right? Not really price. I mean, yeah, it's good to be mindful of the price you pay, but can we find you something that's within your monthly payment that you want to stay within? And so if they have homes to sell, because we have this conversation all the time with sellers that want to sell, they're so afraid of putting the shoe on the other foot and becoming a buyer. And so we tell them all the time, do you know what? First things first, get your home on the market and try to get it under contract and make your sell contingent upon your purchase. So right now, you as a seller have the upper hand. These buyers are going to be just so thankful that they're the winning offer. They're going to be patient with you. They're going to be like, yep, whatever it takes, right? So if you need an extended closing or say you close and lease back, that way, when you go to make an offer to another seller, you're not necessarily making it contingent. In their minds, they're like, oh, well, their home's already under contract. To a seller, they're thinking, oh, it's already sold. They're just going through the process.
Right.
If you're making a contingent offer and it still hasn't been on the market, or maybe you're asking too much and it's sitting there, which typically still doesn't happen, but it happens still, right? That's when they get a little like, well, why would I wait for them? Because then they see the, snowball effect, the domino effect of like, well, that one hasn't even sold. What if they don't get the price that they want? What if it's not in great condition? What if they're back out? So we always tell them, first things first, let's get your house at least under contract, if not sold, and lease it back.
Yeah. What you said something and it made me think, and then I was listening and I forgot.
And then another thing too was obviously earnest money, right? People really underestimate earnest money and how that can influence a seller's opinion of your overall contract. It's funny because before you used to get away with $500 to $1,000 here in Utah. People here, like FYI, people are all about, they're frugal, they're all about do-it-yourself handshakes, but that's changing because our dynamic is changing and we have outside influence now, right? And so it was funny because I remember years ago attending a National Women's Council conference, and they're like, oh yeah, 1% is, typical. And I'm like, 1%? I'm like, people in Utah would freak if we tried to expect. So it's really awesome because these out-of-staters are used to doing big earnest money deposits. And at that, sometimes you can, if you feel really confident about the home, you can say, hey, if you take the risk of accepting my offer, I'll go ahead and put, my earnest money non-refundable straight up front. So it's like, hey, you can walk away with $5,000 if I don't, if this doesn't work out or whatnot, because some of these out-of-state clients too are seeing it sight unseen. We're doing video tours and all of that, but it even makes the sellers a little anxious that somebody hasn't seen it in person. So to overcome that, you can say, hey, I got hard money on the line. I got skin in the game. I'm really wanting to see this happen. And that really helps the sellers.
I have a seller here that's moving to Southern California in the desert, and a job transfer thing. And they did the same. They did non-refundable on their earnest money. Mm-hmm. I don't see that as much here yet. But we do a lot of appraisal waivers, or no appraisal contingency deals, cash over. Yeah, $20,000, $30,000 over asking on some of these properties. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Rewind to your pricing comment about stuff that's overpriced. So I find that if the seller is being too aggressive with their price, it'll sit. Buyers are savvy. They don't want to look at something that's over their budget, knowing that they might have to compete. So it's better to get right at what the market says, and see what the buyers do with that, rather than getting it too high and then you're waiting and you're trying to see if some of these pending sales catch up to your price. You'll be on the market too long here.
Yep. Sure. And again, right now, if everything else is selling so quick and yours even sits a week to 2 weeks on market, buyers are wondering what's wrong with it. How come nobody else wanted it? Right. And all of a sudden somebody comes in and they're like, well, they've been sitting, now I can negotiate. And typically now they're taking less than if they just would have priced it good from the get-go. And when you price it competitively still, you have so many buyers that now they're all competing with each other, naturally going to push the price up, like you said. I mean, I just sold one in Uinta that was $60,000 above asking, both out-of-state buyers, both waived appraisal. One in North Ogden, just right down the road from my house right now, we got 7 offers. We're under contract, $30,000 above asking. They too waived their appraisal. And it's so funny because, they purposefully offer $30,000 more. Well, it appraised for 28 more than our asking price. And then they were trying to negotiate the 2,000. And I was like, you waived your appraisal. Like, you can't go back on that. So that's another thing too. Anything that you're doing, and your intentions to try to win the offer, don't try to pull one over later.
You made that decision up front. So that's part of the process.
Much lower. And I go, $2,000 on a $458,000 home. I go, that's less than 1%. I go, technically that's 0.0067%. I'm like, we're not talking about this.
No, thank you. So we're talking about 500,000 because here in Placer County, our average price point is around 500,000. It's a little bit less in Sacramento County and actually a little bit higher in Placer County, but 500,000 is a really good median price point here. So that's why I wanted to show $500,000 properties. But if I wanted to trade median price point for median price point, what would that number look like?
Our median price point here is $362,000. And that's based on August statistics. And the year before it was only 325. So just in a year, our pricing and our values have increased that much. I mean, some of it obviously is also to new construction. I mean, we can't even find land right now. New construction is just flying off the shelf. New construction costs are the highest, that they've been in a really long time, and people are willing to pay for new, They lose all sense of getting bang for your buck when they can. It's kind of like the new car smell, when they can their own colors and finishes and stuff like that. So new construction, the builders can't even keep up, and they can't even find enough land to be building right now.
Yeah. And I just had a little bit of like work done at my house, and he was like, yeah, the 2x4s are like $7. Normally they're $3, whatever. And I'd be interested to see when COVID's over and production increases and there's more workforce available and all of that, if we can get prices back down. But like he and I were talking about, people are paying it, so why would the supplier reduce the price back down? So
we'll see how that supply and demand.
Yeah, we'll see if it works. So let's look at the first house. So this property is I gotta get to this other screen. Hold on. So 520,000, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 3,300 square feet on a 1/4 acre. Yeah, something like this here would be in the 7s probably or more. I didn't see this one have a front, but we'll start with the kitchen. Is this brand new construction?
Showcase, the best highlight of the home as the first one, because after you just see so many exterior photos, you're just kind of like blah. So that's a good marketing strategy. I use it too.
Yeah, because then it stops somebody's eyes when they're scrolling through. Yeah, I gotta get used to that, because my OCD is like, I start at the front and I literally organize my photos on MLS exactly how you'd walk through the house, because I'm like psycho. But maybe if I do a kitchen and then the front, and then I can go through.
Yep. Yeah, no, I do that same thing. I always tell people, I'm like, it drives me crazy when you have one kitchen photo here and then a kitchen photo way down here. You're like, is it 2 kitchens? Am I missing something?
Yeah, no, I'm picky too. So I'm glad we're on the same page. Yeah. So this is brand new construction.
It is. No? This is brand new construction. This is close by where I live. We're about 30, 45 minutes north of Salt Lake City. And again, new construction is just booming. This is going to be kind of the modern look that you'll see a lot of people really desire. You can see the 2-tone cabinets, that the island cabinetry is different color than the main.
I was looking at that because the layout and the style is very similar, and we sometimes would see something similar to this, but not the wood on wood on wood. And I kind of like that. That's really pretty. A lot of times this element would be white. Huh?
That's gonna be more your LVP, your linoleum vinyl planking, because a lot of people here have kids and pets, and you're coming in with your snowy boots in the winter, so that stuff is really resistant and long lasting, and it looks amazing. In fact, I have engineered hardwood in my home, and I'm going to be replacing it with LVP. I'm like, yeah, it's amazing product. Fireplaces are a big thing here in Utah, because again, we have about 5 months of winter. So people like to cozy up next to their fireplaces. Not every new construction has it, but if it were me, I'm like, I know I'm picky and I'm a realtor, but a fireplace to me is absolutely a must have. This is going to be your nice dining area. They love kind of doing these fun little light fixtures now, right? Not your standard, but something to really kind of accent it and showcase. We're seeing a lot of mixed metals here in Utah too. So even if you have stainless, you could see bronze, you could see, different black stainless steel. You're starting to see more mixed metals. People really like it because it gives more variety.
People are starting that here too, I think, because it doesn't confine you to, like, say I don't know, you want to do something different with the light fixtures or the faucet or whatever. You can choose, you have more options. You're not stuck with a color. Yeah, but you have to start that way where you mix it, or else you'll have one piece that's different.
Yeah. Ramblers are the most desirable style of homes here in Utah. So Ramblers typically with a basement. And normally it's, like for like, as far as similar square footage up and down. And normally they do finish the basements, because we have big families here in Utah and people like the extra space that they're having, a second living room and the kids downstairs. So kind of mom and dad can have some sanity time. These benches are the big rage because, again, you have kids that are hanging up their backpacks home from school, put their shoes underneath.
We love these here too. That's a garage, I'm assuming.
It is, yep.
Yeah, like a lot of our new construction has those, and I love them, and I want one so bad, but I live in a small house and I don't get one. But if I ever, this is a weird feature, but if I ever bought a bigger house, new construction, I would have to have the like junk station.
Yep.
That would make my life so happy.
You know what's funny though? I have it and I have 4 kids and they never use it. They still just leave it on the bench by the
just hang the backpack on the hook.
Yeah. Obviously main level master bedrooms with the ensuite is going to be the, most desirable. Main level laundry. So literally it's all single level living, even if you have a finished basement. Walk-in closets.
Do you normally have like a 2-story house or just 1 stories with a basement?
So 1 story with a basement is the most common. 2 stories are going to be the second most common. And then obviously with the baby boomer generation and all of that, they are going to want patio homes, right? So it's a rambler with slab on grade. So it's no basement. But it's funny because you can actually buy a home with twice the square footage for cheaper than a patio home here, because there's so much demand for patio homes that their pricing and price per square foot is so high that I challenge some older people, if they're looking to downsize and they want single level living and no stairs, I challenge them to consider a rambler with a basement, even if it's wasted space, because it'll still give them room for storage that you typically don't get in a patio. But also at that, you can normally find more options with those and for less money than if it has half of the square footage for a patio home.
Yeah, maybe they put all the grandkids down there when they come to visit or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So let's go to the second property. So this is 539, 6 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2,200 square feet, smaller lot. Let me close your little
So
chat.
this is going to be right in the heart of Salt Lake City. So Salt Lake obviously is our capital here. A lot of these kind of big cities, right, and the foundation, like the heart of the cities, you're going to have a lot of historic homes.
Yeah.
And so there is a lot of historic homes in the heart of Salt Lake City. So pricing is going to be higher because you're obviously in the capital. You're going to be close by the University of Utah here. A lot of people really love, though, the charm of historic. So you can see how they kind of still decorate it with a little bit of fun, quaint, features in it. So this is one that's been remodeled. Typically, there'll still be more like original hardwood floors. People love original hardwood floors. They love the hardwood wrapped windows. You'll see a lot of LED windows here that you can still kind of see the bubbles and the waviness in it.
Ooh.
They're not super efficient, but they're kind of cute.
In the downtown Sacramento, there's tons. I mean, that's similar, right? Like older homes, and there's some that are humongous, and they're on the streets with the 40 numbers. So they're called the Fabulous 40s, and they decorate all that whole like couple streets, decorate for Christmas. And generally, I don't know, we'll see what happens this year, but people do like horse-drawn, like buggy rentals and like drive through. It's super fun. Yeah.
That's fun. I want to come.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know how it's going to look this year, but even like people decorate their bicycles with lights and drive through and like look at them. One of those Sacramento things. So this is the basement.
Yep. And so typically in older homes, you're going to have lower basement ceilings. You're definitely going to feel like you're in a basement. Normally egress windows are non-existent unless you have a bedroom. And that's if they remodeled it and had to put an egress window in. Otherwise, they're grandfathered in. One thing to keep in mind, though, with older homes, and this just is anywhere, right, is depending on the age, it could have clay pipes as far as like your sewer system out from the main house to the road. If you have trees or, roots, stuff like that, those can eventually break down. And so I always recommend getting a sewer scope because that can cost, $8,000 to $15,000 to replace. Also knob and tube wiring, which isn't ideal. And so you definitely want to look at, even though the kitchen's new and the bathroom's new and you got new paint and carpet and possibly even windows, you still want to look at those concrete foundational aspects of the home.
And
So
see if they've done that stuff. I mean, I always recommend, like, sewer scopes are huge here. I mean, we've got a lot of homes that are from the 80s and 90s, and I always still do sewer scopes because I'm like, you don't know how people have lived over the last 40 years,
yep.
and you want to make sure that that's not going to be an issue. And we do have the knob and tube on some of our older homes, and it just depends on whether or not through the years as they've updated it, if anyone's done the wiring or not.
Yeah.
So
Copper
that's always,
piping, like getting little pinholes over time, and then all of a sudden your whole house has little tiny leaks all over. I know. So don't be scared, but I say even if they've done one thing, it doesn't mean they've done all things. So in the state of Utah, every home is sold as is. It's automatic in the contract. It is up to the sellers. So it's the seller's only obligation in the contract to be as truthful and honest about the condition, what they know, any repairs, remodels, right? All of that stuff. However, it's up to the buyer to do an inspection if they choose to, and they can use whoever they want. So we always say, nobody requires it, but we highly recommend it, because as soon as you sign on that dotted line at the closing table, you assume all responsibility of it, where I don't want these problems to roll over and be your problems if you weren't anticipating it. And I mean, home inspections here are $300-400, super affordable, hands down. Use somebody that's certified, licensed, and insured, has experience, because also in the state of Utah, you can be anybody and start a home inspection company. So we have preferred vendors, obviously, that we refer out, that we know have experience. They're looking out for the buyers. They're going to be very truthful about it, but they're also going to be realistic, right? Because on an older home, there's going to be natural wear and tear. There's going to be typical things with the age of the home. And so they're very realistic on their approach, but they'll also say, hey, these are some major things that you might want to consider repairing.
Yeah, our contracts are very, very similar. The seller's obligated to disclose any known facts. And home inspections are on the buyer. In the Bay Area, like San Francisco and San Jose, that kind of thing, traditionally the seller does inspections, puts it on MLS, and you either take it or leave it. Like, you already know what the issues are up front. That's starting to roll downhill here, where more and more sellers are doing inspections up front, pricing it based on inspections instead of waiting for the buyer to make those decisions. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, it's like you said, your market's changing too, and it's like, as people from different areas are moving here, we're kind of taking on their
ways.
Yeah, I can't think of the word, like customary contract practices, I guess, is a kind of a way to say it. But yeah, so it's interesting how that all works. They don't seem to want to do it our way, so we're kind of shifting to do it their way. So the next one is, that's pretty. So this is 529, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, biggest one yet, 4,200 square feet, a little less than a quarter acre. So this is, how far is this from the ones that we've seen so far? Is this kind of in a totally different area?
Started north, right? We started in North Ogden, about 45 minutes north of Salt Lake. Then we were in Salt Lake. We're about 45 minutes south of Salt Lake now. And so this is in Utah County. This is going to be kind of a traditional style of home. People love the natural stones and the rocks and, wood accent as far as timbers go, all of that. And then inside, you're just going to see it very neutral. We always call it kind of a blank canvas, vanilla it up, appeal to the masses. And so this one, you'll see a lot of natural woods throughout, which kind of just give it kind of a warm, cozy feeling. I feel like if you're not into wood, then obviously that's not the case, but there's also not too much of it either.
There's not too much. No, it's pretty. I mean, we're kind of less grainy wood here, but I think in the right spaces, it's warm. It's pretty.
Yep. And you can always change out the stain on it. So if you don't like kind of I would call this more of a root beer. It's kind of like a warm reddish stain. You can always restain it, or you can even paint them, and they look great. So this is knotty alder cabinets. That's pretty much what you'll see in a lot of homes here, whether they're stained or painted over. So you'll see like the knots in them. Again, the fireplace with the dry stack rock and the timber mantle I mean, this is definitely what you
pretty.
see. In this one, though, you can tell it's a 2-story. And because there's a second level, you don't have the vaulted ceilings that you would typically get in a Rambler. And so sometimes people really like the 2-style homes. Some of them don't, because they don't feel like when you're in the main common space, it doesn't feel as grand, as big.
Right.
Even though, right, you have a lot of square footage space in this home to use and utilize.
So would this be first level, second floor, and a basement?
Mm-hmm.
And is that basement square footage included in that total square footage if it's finished, right?
Yep. It's included anyways, but then we say how much of that is finished.
Oh, okay. See, we don't, like I said to you before, we don't have basements very often.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are, they're like, I don't know, maybe more like a cellar, like a dungeon that you store things in.
Utilities, or maybe a little bit of storage or something. And then that, so that last photo, if you go back, these are formal living rooms right off of the front door, but a lot of people now don't really use formal living rooms. So now they convert those into home offices, especially with COVID, right? Now that's all just like, hey, I need somewhere. And
now the classroom.
Yeah. Yeah, or a classroom. Most of the time though, there's not a door. So that's something to think of as, you know, how to kind of block the sound out if you do have kids at home while you're trying to work. Yeah.
I live through that every day unless I come here to my office with a door.
I know.
Look, more fun stuff.
Yeah.
So this is drop off in the garage.
Mm-hmm. See, now you got your grand staircase to upstairs. So all the bedrooms are upstairs. So you have your master upstairs and all of your spare bedrooms.
And is this pretty standard in something like this?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's a little bit different, but you'll typically see the separate tub shower. You'll often see a corner tub. It may be jetted. It may just be a garden tub. Double sinks, right, is all the rage. I actually built my home just a few years ago, and I hate double sinks. I'm like, it's just another sink, and I rather have more counter space. So I have a huge counter space, you know, because you can't look this good just waking up in the morning.
You need all the products.
Products and hair stuff. And so essentially, but a lot of people, that's a must for them. It's double sinks.
If I was building, I would want like a true vanity, like where, and I don't see that as often anymore at all, but it would be nice to have like, you know, the spot for all your stuff, but we don't have very many of those either. It just doesn't seem like a popular feature, but I don't know. If I was picking everything, I would have it.
Yep.
And this is the second bathroom.
Spare bathroom, which it's really cool because you can see they put a door to shut off the toilet and shower area. Again, because there's a lot of people probably using this bathroom. Some people can still be getting ready doing that while somebody else is showering or obviously using the bathroom. So it's kind of nice. You'll see that too quite a bit.
That is nice, especially for the kids. So nobody's fighting over who can go brush their teeth.
Yeah.
Cute bedroom. So this kind of like
and B boards. Again, just texture.
Yeah, we don't put them as high. So is it normal that they're this high?
Yeah, I mean, you'll see it either halfway or high. Typically we're lower.
I've seen it halfway, but this is really pretty up high. I'm like, I like that because you can
too when they do wallpaper up top, because it just gives a little bit more I don't know, color and variation.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, you can use the fun color without painting the whole room. So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Upstairs laundry. I was trying to read. Oh, cute.
Drop your pants here.
I always like fun laundry room signs. I literally, when I show houses, I take pictures of funny laundry room signs all the time. So this is the top of a hill.
Yep. So again, in Utah, you have your mountains, right? And oftentimes, because we have the Great Salt Lake, so a lot of actually our flat lands is wetlands, and you can't build on it, and the water table's too high, and you have the liquidation factor and all of that stuff. So it's kind of funny because you have mountains on both sides of us, and right in the middle is a lake or wetlands, and, you know, a space that you can't use. So everybody's kind of tucked up and away up against the mountain and going up the mountain. And that's why now we're starting to see more and more people go on the Wasatch back, right? So instead of the Wasatch Front being in front of the mountain, now they're starting to make their way back into like Park City, Summit County, Morgan County. Now we're starting to see these main areas that used to kind of be the boondocks. And now they're seeing huge demand because they're still close, but now, you know, it's the only space essentially to build on. And so you'll see terrace yards a lot, retaining walls.
This out here is so pretty looking.
It is.
And this community must have a pool.
It must. Yeah. So you'll see a lot of fun projects and communities that have these things. That's kind of like, you know, this one's down in Utah County too. So just to go into that, Utah County, you know, we call it Happy Valley because people are just so happy down there. But now we have Adobe, we have EA Sports, we have a bunch of tech companies that have moved here, and just more and more are moving here, that they're now calling it Silicon Slopes because it's tucked up on the mountainside in Utah County. And so now you're starting to see those tech companies and all of their perks kind of roll over into the housing projects with all of their perks too. So it's kind of fun.
That is cool. Yeah, there's a few communities here that have like a community center and a pool and amenities and things like that as well.
I always say people aren't buying a home just for the house, right? They're buying that home for the lifestyle of living there. And so these HOAs are essentially saying, what type of people are we drawing in and what can we help them with? So they're buying more of the lifestyle of living in this community.
And this is something that some of those tech guys and things like that are coming from my area into Utah, this is what they're looking for. They're looking for the lifestyle. And that's what I see as people are leaving is, here, let me close out the pictures. That's what I see as people are leaving is, what is the lifestyle change from living in the Greater Sacramento area or living in the Bay Area? What does that look like for me when I go to Utah? And what like high-end amenities and things can I afford since I'm keeping my job? Because that's a huge part of it. So everybody is able to work from home. And a lot of the companies are saying, look, if you don't want to come back, you don't have to come back to the office. And so they're taking off and they're figuring out where they can take their income and get the most bang for their buck for that and have that lifestyle.
Yeah. So obviously the lifestyle in Utah, right? We can't glorify our mountains enough. We have some of the beautifulest mountains, and a lot of our communities are right on the mountain. So if you're into hiking, biking, I mean, mountain bike races are like all the rage right now. If you're into skiing, snowboarding, kayaking, we have tons of lakes, tons of reservoirs. So you can go boating, you can paddleboard, you can kayak down the rivers, you can fish. I mean, like literally the outdoor mecca is here in Utah. I always talk about it kind of being a place in the US that's often overlooked, right? And when people come here, they're so surprised, you know, and they're just expecting it to be this one culture in this one way. And they come and they realize, wow, there is a lot more diversity to the state than they expected. And it's funny because me and my team, we want to showcase the differences across the state. And we actually just got done shooting a whole bunch of Love Where You Live episodes that we're going to be rolling out and posting on our YouTube channel that really are going to showcase the different cultures and the different communities and the different counties. Because it is so different. And it was fun even doing that because some places we did 2 back to back and I was like, oh my gosh, you can feel the difference. You know, you're only driving 30 minutes, but you can feel the difference. You know,
what kind of, when you're doing those videos and you're showcasing that stuff, what kind of features are you guys looking at? Are you looking at schools? Are you looking at recreation?
All of it. Businesses, kind of like the hot businesses that people, you know, kind of the local secrets, you know, where would you go and eat? What are some places that you would go for adventure, entertainment, or, you know, so we're talking about, you know, say for example, in Salt Lake City, you're close by probably 8 ski resorts. It's so funny because the first time I flew to Denver, I was expecting Denver, right, to be similar to Salt Lake City. And I was like, I flew in and I'm like, where are the mountains? You know, and even when you're in Denver, in the city, the mountains are so far away, it feels like, where Salt Lake is literally tucked into the mountain. You are, you know, close by 8 different ski resorts within probably 30 minutes. You have a plethora and a variety of different resorts. And it's super fun because each of those ski resorts are way different. You know, their terrain's way different. And then in Ogden, which is obviously, we kind of call it the sister city of Salt Lake, so just north, you have 3 ski resorts. So you have Snow Basin that helped host the Winter Olympics. They have a gondola, prime amenities, like absolutely gorgeous. You got Powder Mountain, which has like, you know, probably I would say 4 or 5 times the size of Snow Basin. And with that, they don't have a gondola. Not as many people kind of go up there just for the primeness of it. They go there for the powder. I mean, it lives up to its name. And then you have a fun little smaller one that's more just for practicing. That's a little bit more.
The one that I would need. I mean, I skied once when I was young, and I go to Tahoe in the summer. Like I don't do the winter Tahoe. I do summer Tahoe, and then you know, here we have rain. We don't really get a lot of snow. So the great thing about us is that we're an hour and a half from a mountain, an hour and a half from a beach. You can pretty much get anywhere you want. But like when my family moved to Texas, and I went to Texas, and we have a lot of mountains. They're further away, like kind of how Colorado is. Like it's a lot of valley and then the mountain in the horizon. But the one thing I was like, the sky goes forever because there's no mountains to stop it. And it's super interesting. It's super interesting, and it feels so different when you don't have that like mountain view.
I remember going to Houston and there's so many trees, and I was like, how do you guys tell what's north, south, east, west? Because we use our mountains as like a grid and a guide of where we're going, you know? So
no, it's just flat.
Yeah.
It just goes. And I'm always like, when we're in Texas.
It's so dry. I mean, people will put in humidifiers on their furnaces because our air is so dry. I mean, we are technically a desert state. You know, if you go southern Utah to say St. George, Moab, Delicate Arch, Grand Canyon, Bryce Canyon, I mean, you got so many beautiful red rock down south, which is, you know, from Salt Lake, you're about 4 or 5 hours drive down to that point of the state. I mean, that is full desert, but it's funny because people think as you go north that it's not as much. But if I went out my house and was in the field, I could find cactuses, you know, so I guess cacti is the official word.
Yeah, it's probably, other than the snow, I mean, it sounds like a very similar climate. And I think people, when they're moving from here, because we're really lucky with our weather, are looking for that, where they don't have to make a huge climate shift. You know, moving to Texas, I know my parents were like, it took about a year to get used to the humidity because we have dry heat. I mean, it gets to 108 sometimes, but it's not that wet, humid thing. But we also don't have the snow. So it's always this conversation when I'm helping people figure out where they want to go. It's like, okay, well, you get humidity or snow. Like you don't get the seasons the way we have them. So you have to choose. You have to choose.
Which was your route.
Yeah. But, you know, and kind of like how you said, like, where I live in California isn't the California that they show on TV. That's not we don't live on the beach and, you know, surfer all the time. Like that's not my California. I live in, we have more mountains and kind of like that rural, a little bit different than what traditional California is, people think of, you know? So, okay.
I mean, you get 4 seasons here, so you get your variety.
How hot in the summer?
And our leaves are outrageously gorgeous. I mean, it's so pretty when you go up in the mountains. Razor riding's a huge thing. Snowmobile, right, up in the mountains. So there's tons of like ATV type stuff to do too, and camping.
we don't get the fall the way that other places get fall. We get kind of like it's cooler. I mean, it's 70, 80 degrees, and then suddenly it rains and we get rain all winter long. So we don't get that like cool transition to what real fall is. So
it's fun. Let me just mention, in the springtime, you literally can ski in the morning and golf in the afternoon here in Utah.
That's nice. How hot in the summer?
It can get in the 100s, but those are kind of extreme days, like in the middle of summer. And then in the winter, I mean, it can get down below freezing, 15 to 20 degrees. It's so because it's like in the wintertime, it can snow like a foot at night, and they don't cancel school here, and I because I live up on the mountain, I see people trying to drive their kids to school and their tires are literally slipping, trying to get on, and they're like falling off to the side. Definitely, it's adventurous.
It's adventure. Yeah. We get like, if the road gets frozen, they'll cancel school and they won't even have the buses running or anything like that.
So all-wheel drive cars, four-wheel drive are definitely a must if you live here. No tires.
Maybe everyone will just be, do you guys, are your schools back in session? Are you guys still doing distance learning?
Every county is different. So my kids are full back in session. They just have to wear masks, but they're 5 days a week. The county just south of ours was only doing 2 days on. They were rotating. Half of them were Monday, Wednesday. The other half were Tuesday, Thursday. And then Friday was everybody was at home, but now they've switched that. They're going to do 4 days on, because they felt like it was going fine. So every county is just completely different. Some even, back in. And you were able to choose if you wanted to do online, even with them going back. You had the choice.
Yeah, we are going 2 days. My second grader goes back on Thursday for the first time, and then my sixth grader will go back next Thursday, and it's 2 days on. So either your Monday, Tuesday, or your Thursday, Friday, similar to that. So yeah, but every county is different, but most of California, we're pretty much one of the more ahead as far as like opening up goes, unless you're really, really rural, and then you're, most of that's open, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm expecting them to be back home again soon enough. All right. Well, thank you so much for all your time. And it was lots of fun talking to you. And I look forward to hopefully sending some folks your way.
Please come to Utah. It's amazing. Love where you live. That's what we preach. We sure do.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.